Hello, everyone, and welcome to sunny North Carolina for the Atrium Health 500 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We have 80 laps of racing for us today. On pole, following up after his valiant efforts in qualifying for the Universal 500, Patrick Smith will lead them again to the green. Starting to his outside is the 8 of Nick Bergwald. In third and fourth are two Dodges, Logan Cloud and Tib Foster. Fifth is James Busher. Sixth is Danica Matthew. Seventh belongs to Matthew Eves, and alongside him is Nick Perez. Noah Robb starts ninth. TJ Hanley 10th. Zachary Bilson 11th. Dylan Jacobs 12th. And starting right behind Bilson is a newfound rival of the series, and Bilson, Jari-Matti Haapalainen. To his outside is the other Smith in the field, Antoine Smith. Robbie Webb and Dragos King are alongside each other, and Jacob Rose and Logan Bradley end up starting next to each other. Those two have rumored to be possibly having an alliance next season. It'll be interesting to see if anything comes out of that. And behind them are Teddy Curry and Ryan Preece, Julio Caesar and Trey Fisher, your first ever NXECS winner, Austin Terrio. He's alongside Cody Savage. Brady Burkhart and Kev Shear start alongside each other, both in Toyota Camrys, and another Toyota Camry behind them. That's Terrio's teammate Eric Darnell. Matthew Town his outside. The rest of your starting lineup will pass across your screen. As the wear for this race is set for 2 times, so it will be interesting to see if there will be large pitch strategy at the end of it. But get this unpaused here and get the command to fire the engines.
Start your engines.
And engines have fire here at Charlotte. I have a full crowd today for the second race of this season. 33 left to go, but does not hurt to get your points early. That's going to be a strategy for most of these guys, to get into the top 10 of the points as soon as you can, have a worthwhile shot at the championship. Remember, there is no chase. Pace car pulling down. The Atrium Health 500 is about to go green. There's a green flag. We are racing in Charlotte. Leading lap number 1 will be Patrick Smith in the 0-1, and Logan Cloud is already sneaking his way up into second as we get a flyby shot off the corner of the field. Rushing by, they're getting up to some higher speeds here, almost 200 miles an hour into the corners here. Really just like to keep the throttle open and try to see how low they can get in the corner and try and make these moves. The inside's the place to be here at Charlotte. Smith is running a little higher line here, but Cloud working underneath him as we'll get a different camera shot coming off the corner. Nick Bergwald is still able to fight back on the straightaways where the outside line is pretty much the preferred line, and actually the top doesn't seem too bad early on in the race, but later as the marbles build up, I expect the inside line to be pretty much the only line around this track, excuse me. So Patrick Smith, after scoring the pole at Orlando, he really wasn't much to talk about at the actual race. He obviously had his mechanical error in the duels, but race didn't really put much together. Trying to turn some heads today, and get a strong finish. Another noticeable high up in the field, that's Zachary Bilson, the 28 DeWalt Ford Fusion for Power Tool Racing. Obviously, he was the one that was sent flipping by Harry's battling Tim Foster's teammate, Dane Cruz, at Orlando, and Linen obviously frustrated with Bilson after the crash. They exchanged some harsh words, and Gary Mahdi is just outside the top 10. He is running in 11th, but trying to get a good run today as well. Slide on the back straightaway. You see they're starting to file out, and they are able to run the top here. Something you don't see on many tracks, but they're able to do it here, and that's pretty much the preferred line. See, as there's the move, possibly for the lead. Cloud, he thought he had a shot coming into the corner, but ended up that he did not, and he falls back in the line. Coming from the infield across the stripe, Patrick Smith. Gearheads.com sponsors that Walker Racing Mazda. And his teammate, Taylor Fry, qualified in the last row of the field, so Walker Racing really had their hands full today with cars all over the pack. As you can see, looks like almost the entire field is back down a single file now. And let's give an onboard look here. Logan Cloud. Now, one of the reasons drivers do like coming to Charlotte is that it is such a challenge for them. They want to go wide open. They want to keep it pedal to the floor as fast as they can around the track, but they also got to figure out they got to make moves sometimes. They got to work their way up through the field and try and win this race. So it's a challenge. You want to go fast, or do you want to dive it into the corner and possibly risk tearing your equipment up? So it'll be interesting to see, will this race stay caution-free? I know in many other NR leagues, Charlotte is usually a wreck fest, but surprisingly these guys are keeping it calm as James Busher is putting a serious threat on the 94. Give Busher underneath of Cloud here down the back straightaway, side by side. Busher in the Hitachi 31 to the inside 3 and 4. He has to check up. That's one of the issues about running the inside. You gotta lift. And they'll be side by side across the stripe. Cloud still has the advantage coming into the corner. Oh, he nearly got into the wall, and he might have. Cloud might have kissed the wall going into 1 and 2, and that's going to drop him back down to 3rd. It looks like the inside line is fighting back. Nick Bergwald had a big run on Logan there into turns 1 and 2. Busher kind of stays that little bit of lower line. Cloud still up high, and there's Bergwald underneath the 94. Smith, let's get a flyby of the field. Oh, we are on lap number 15 of 80 in the Atrium Health 500. Patrick Smith is leading. James Busher is second. Nick Bergwald is third. Matthew Eves is 4th, and Logan Cloud, after a quick shuffle, falls down to 5th. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with the action soon enough. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, folks, to the Atrium Health 500 at Charlotte. Round 2 of the NASCAR Xcel Energy Cup Series season. We're running out the front bumper of Matthew Eves, currently sitting 4th. And let's take a look at who's running the quickest so far. Gonna go to Drago's King, who has a 27.777 lap time. I believe that may even be faster than they were running in qualifying. Then again, they do have the draft of a good-sized field of 40 cars, so it will aid them in the lap times. But let's see how quick these front runners are running. Taking a look here. Really, it doesn't seem like the front runners are the ones setting the quicker laps. They're going quicker in the back, and honestly, the front runners are the ones actually running the slowest. Patrick Smith is leading the race, but he has the slowest lap time. Logan Cloud, Nick Bergwald, Tim Foster, they're all down there on the lap leaderboard, so real killer for some of these guys. That slower cars might be the ones up at front, and just the way you drive this track, there's really not that many opportunities to make some moves here. But I think it's time to go through to the field, so let's start it off with race leader Patrick Smith. The 0-1 car obviously had mechanical issues at Orlando in the duels, but in the race started on pole like he did, and honestly, I don't know where these people finished. I am a bad commentator, but Smith is trying to turn some heads this season as tries to get a smaller sponsor, gearheads.ca, up at the front, and he's definitely giving them the TV time this week. In second is James Busher, and he's looking to the inside. He may have something for Smith here. He pushes Smith up the track a little bit, but that kills the momentum of the 31, and he's not really going to get anything out of it. But Busher, Trey Fisher had some mechanical issues on a restart. Busher did try a different strategy, and I believe it paid off for him in the long run of things at Orlando. It'll be interesting to see what he'll be able to do for the rest of the season. Nick Bergwald, I believe, he was one of the guys who had a strong run at Orlando. Trying to follow that success up today with another top 5, but he definitely in winning contention. If he could play the pit stops right, he'll have a great shot. Matthew Eves ended up a lap down at Orlando, but not struggling. His team had a bad race. Bilson, his teammate, was the one that flipped. But he's trying to fight back in his NXT car. He can pull off some strong moves here at Charlotte. Maybe pass 3 of these guys on pit road and get this win. In 5th is Logan Cloud, the 94. Driver owner, he owns Cloud9 Autosport in the series that fields 3 Dodge Darts. Obviously, he started 3rd. Worked his way up into 2nd, but had an issue with the wall and dropped back some positions. Thankfully, he was able to slot back in and is trying to fend off Tim Foster, who really wasn't talked about that much at Orlando, but he's running up front today, showing off his Dodge stuff. Loaf Racing, that team that he drives for, is basically the Dodge factory team. Teammate Dane Cruz was one of the ones involved in the Orlando wreck. And obviously the main man of the Orlando wreck, Zachary Bilson, the one that went over on the backstretch, going to famously live in the hearts of NASCAR Xcel Energy Cup Series fans, as arguably right now that is the flip. Bilson is trying to hold off some claims from Garimati Hapalainen, and as it looks like, yes, we do. We have pit stops. So coming down, Patrick Smith, James Busher, some other guys, as we get some shot at the rest of the field here. Here they come down pit road. We'll get the pit lane camera on and let you listen in as the cars go by. See who stays out, see who doesn't. Top of your screen, let's look through the rest of the field before it cycles around. See who's running good and running not so good. Skylar Dixon has made his way up about half the field already, even though pit stops may have shaken that up, and yes, it has. So Dixon trying to make some moves on this race, these pit stops, but Jay Jefferson, Dane Cruz, Preston Emmons. Preston Emmons got a top 10 at Orlando, but like he's not having the strongest of days, as it looks like race off pit road will go to Patrick Smith. Cody Savage, excuse me. Victor Carneras, they had the worst pit stops. Wortley came in pretty high, but has now fallen back, and like everybody will be serviced these 2 times by. Cloud comes out, or beats Bergwald off. Rob Smith, Foster falls, and so does the 28 of Zachary Bilson. So some of these guys are a lap down. Hopefully they'll be able to rejoin comfortably and see who cycles out as the leader. And it looks like Patrick Smith is ahead of James Busher once again. So give the lead to Smith. No! Busher's going to give a shot into one. Underneath, this is going to be for the lead as they cycle out. James Busher underneath. Patrick Smith for the lead of the Atrium Health 500. And the 3, Smith's going to fight back, though. He's got the high side. It's better in the corners, but coming off the corner, Busher throws the block. It was close, but Busher is your new leader at Charlotte. Back a little farther, there's Logan Cloud and Nick Perez. He was strong in duel number 1 at Orlando. He's finally up there. He was running 10th before pit stops, and now he is up to 4th. So he had pretty much what's looking to be the stop of the day here at Charlotte. Battling Danica Matthew, who had a strong starting spot, and Matthew Eves, who has fallen. But Ramadi Hapalainen and Eric Darnell, he had a good stop, but Nick Bergwald, oof, fallen from 3rd all the way to 9th, so that is 6 positions lost on pit road. Hopefully, there will definitely be another stop in this race. Hopefully, he'll be able to rebound then. And Logan Bradley started deep in this field. He has made his way up, so credit to them by playing the strategy right and getting this car into the top 10. Let's take a look at some of the other cars in the field. Here's a battle, Antoine Smith and Noah Robb. Side by side, it's going to be a two side by sides. Here's TJ Hanley dives underneath Robbie Webb. Hanley had a strong starting position, but fell back early on. Didn't talk about him that much. The start, and oh, these guys were the biggest losers on pit road. Tib Foster and Zachary Bilson, because they are down to 16th, excuse me, actually. Foster and his white rim Dodge is fallen out of contention for the win, arguably, as there's Teddy Kari diving it down to the inside. You see, we're pretty much single file until the pit stops, and now they are thankfully running a bit more racier. And Jay Jefferson, credit to him, he played the strategy right. He started toward the back of the field, and he's made up at least 10 positions, so credit to Jay. Let's take a look at the front of the field, see what's happening with our leaders, and Smith is just going to chase down Busher. Going to try, and he's going to try. See if he'll be able to get anything out of it. But looks like Cloud, Matthew, Perez, and Eves have fallen comfortably. There's Hapalainen and Darnell. Darnell's looking a little racy. Actually, let's give you an onboard from Nick Bergwald here in the middle of this pack. As you see, way up in front is Danica Matthew passing Logan Cloud for third. Actually, why don't we get a look from up there? This is on board with Nick Perez. And you see that these guys here are pretty much looking really racy, but it's costing them because Hepalainen and Darnell, Bergwald, Bradley, and Jacobs are closing. They shaved pretty much about a good half second there, and they are close here. They are definitely within. They're within 3/10. They're going to catch him before the end of this lap, and we're going to have a big battle here for the lower positions in the top 10. But Smith was running a little low, running a little different line than Busher now. So Smith definitely wants to get this win. He wants to get around James Busher. Both of these guys want to win, however, but both of them want it more than the other. I wonder, could this spark a new rivalry? 31-01, battling each other for the win all race long. We'll see, but let's look back where the action is. Yes, they have caught him. Hepalainen is working his way up through this pack. Perez slides up. Cloud slid up. Cloud, the 94, nearly got into the wall. Ooh, Hepalainen did slide up off the corner, nearly got into the rear quarter panel of 94, and if he did, that would have been bad. Cloud gets into the wall again, and he's tapping it when he runs the high line off the corner. It's going to cost him. He's falling back on the outside again because everyone is in the big chain. They are drafting their way past the others' misfortune, and Hepalainen is working on the fellow Mazda of Perez. We're just past halfway here at Charlotte. Hepalainen now to the inside of Perez. He can't do anything. Can't get around. Kit Kat car. Viagra car's having a pretty hard time tonight. Past trying to get by this 45, but it might seem to do it. Matthew Eves, he's having a race much better than Orlando, where he pretty much got screwed out of lap cars. Hepalainen might have been one of them, and that really lost him the draft. He had poor pit stops too, and he fell a lap down before the end of it. Hepalainen now finally the inside of Perez. Will he be able to clear him? That's the battle. Checks up heavily in the corner. Perez slides out of the groove. They're neck and neck. Coming down. Perez still leads over Hepalainen, but coming into one, Jari Mahdi's going to dive it in. The finish flyer, they call him. Going to fly it into the corner and take the position. Eves now under the 45. And continuing to pull away are Busher and Smith. Let's see what the margins are this time by. Gained about a 1/10 of a second, so definitely these guys are putting distance on the rest of the field. Starting to break away also is Danica Matthew in the Krispy Kreme 60. Krispy Kreme is pretty big here down south as Perez taps the wall in the middle of the straightaway, but he falls in line back behind Logan Cloud. I don't know what Perez was doing there. Not really unlike him to see him tap the wall like that. But as we look through the field here, there's Eric Darnell and Nick Bergwald, Logan Bradley at the bottom of the top 10. And Jacobs, haven't talked about him basically at all this race, but he is a definite threat. He has a good pit stop this time by. He'll be a contender. But it looks like the field is definitely settling in now to single file action like we saw earlier on. Antoine Smith leads this 4-car group. The middle teens. There's Tim Foster, Teddy Curry, Julio Caesar, Jake Jefferson, and Zachary Bilson. That pack is starting to split up, but they're joined by guys like Priest, Berghardt, Dragos King, and Austin Terrio. Terrio is down to 24th. He's not having the follow-up race that he would have liked from his victory. And this is a massive chain of cars here in the midfield. Terrio's pretty much toward the middle half of it, but when these guys come down, it's going to be a busy pit road, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start running into each other. Really strip a guy's race up. Jacob Rose, Brandon Morris, Trey Fisher. Fisher and Shear were both caught up by mechanical gremlins at Orlando's, but they're really not having the race they wanted, and they're going to have a poor points result coming out of this. Not the start of the season these guys want. Hopefully they'll be able to turn it around at Vegas. Matthew Town, who had a good duel result, but I believe he was one of the guys to fall a lap down at the end of the 500. I'm not 100%, but he's not having the race he wants either. And Dane Cruz finished 39th, I'm 90% sure, at Orlando after the contact with Zachary Bilson. He's struggling, and his team, Foster and King, are his teammates, all left in the mid-pack, and here, hanging out in the back, and our 2003 legend, Zachary Bilson, 7th place finisher at Orlando, Preston Emmons, Austin Delgado, and another driver who ran good at Orlando, Dominic Carlone. He's in the back, along with Gabriel Duran, and Taylor Fry. He was a top 10 runner at Orlando. He's in the back. Dixon, Noah Breeze, and his underfunded, half unsponsored 18. He's not having the run he needs today as Dixon goes underneath Fry. Hector Carneris and Cody Savage, who did not have the stops they wanted. But continuing to lead is James Busher here on lap 52. We are going to take a quick break. Don't go away anywhere. There's still 20 laps to go and another round of pit stops by the time we come back. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Charlotte for the Atrium Health 500, and James Busher was leading. And on the wrong car, but there you see it. We have pit stops. In comes guys like Julio Caesar. There is James Busher coming down. Nick Perez also came in. Jake Jefferson, Dane Cruz, and them getting service. Coming down this time is Happalainen, Cloud, Hanley, and more. And Nick Bergwald under the brake was side-by-side battling with Eric Darnell, but pit stops. These guys will be getting 4 tires. Some may be taking 2. It might be wise to take 2 here. But Bergwald's one of them that are taking 4. Brandon Morris, a dual winner. And there you see some damage to the side of Cody Savage's car. He's gotten in the wall today, and it's a busy, busy pit road. 3 wide coming out is Robbie Webb, Nick Bergwald, and Eric Darnell, but they'll get it all lined back up and back out. So it looks like there's the battle for the lead. Busher is going to stay in front of Smith, and he's going to pull away from Smith. This might not be a contest like we thought it was. James Busher is going to put a large gap here on Patrick Smith. You can see the rest of these guys that have gotten service coming out here in the midfield and on back. Ryan Priest will be able to get a lap led and a couple bonus points to his name, possibly. And I don't know the exact specifics on the point system since I'm just using a custom template on score 4, but Cody Savage is going to be put a lap down after all of this. Like the only car lap down after all this. Looks like the fastest lap by Dragos King The 27,777 still stands. Get an onboard look here. Patrick Smith, he's got the visor cam for today's race. Get some visor cam laps in. But look at this. Smith was able to reel Buescher in after those stops, and he goes to the inside. The battle for the lead, the battle for the win. Smith versus Buescher. Coming down the back straightaway past the giant jumbotron they erected back in 2010 here on the back straightaway at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Well, it was the world's largest screen until Texas Motor Speedway beat it out in real life, but Texas we are using for the series doesn't have it, so technically Charlotte does have the biggest screen in the world. And NASCAR Xcel Energy Cup Series, one day, you never know, it would be the biggest league on YouTube one day. Anyways, Smith was unable to get the move done on Buescher. May have another go at it this time into the corner. No, he keeps to the high side. He drives it down mid-corner, trying to scrape a run off the corner, but's able to get nothing out of it. Walker Racing versus Fisher Racing. This battle is Fisher Racing. Trey Fisher's not having the best of days, but his teammate James definitely has a shot for the win here, as they're this time by 15 to go at Charlotte in the Atrium Health 500. Charlotte Motor Speedway, also one of the tracks in the series that has some of the largest grandstands. They have the massive stands, obviously lining the front straightaway, the large one that wraps around turn number 4, the blue seated one, and then the large turn 2 stands, but this is the 2012 version of Charlotte, so some of those seats are gone. You can see the massive American flag they have there, and good old advertisements, but still at this time it was one of the largest capacities in NASCAR. It'll be interesting to see if tires will be able to play into this, because if Buescher and Smith continue racing these guys hard, their tires are going to start falling away quickly, and never know. If Smith's able to save his tires more, he could end up winning this thing. Take a look back at some of the other battles in the field as Perez, Hepalainen, side by side. Splitting them is the lap car of Cody Savage, then Matthew and Eve. And farther back, TJ Hanley's worked his way back up into the top 10. Antoine Smith trying to get underneath him in the 65. So it's Smith versus Hanley. You have to thank TJ for making a couple cars for the series. Not only his, but a couple race logos too. You'll see in the season. Pretty sharp, I'll have to tell you. But Eric Darnell, Nick Bergwald still in the top 10. Dylan Jacobs not lose anything on pit road. Came in 11th, came out in 11th. There's Buddy Webb, Logan Bradley, Logan Cloud. The two Logans are battling each other. Jay Jefferson, after a poor Orlando run, he was swept up in the crash. Nearly got sent over, actually. Hepalainen was the one that hit spinning Jefferson, and he got 2 wheels off the ground. But he is having the rebound day he wants in the top 15. Eddie Kari, the second quickest driver in the race, is mired back in 16th. Noah Robb, Dane Cruz, and the rest of your field will cycle through. But 72 of 80. Not much left to go. 8 to go next time at the line. The race is winding down. It is go time for Patrick Smith. Will he be able to get underneath James Busher? Let's go to an onboard of Busher's rear. Watch Smith chase him down. You can just see how much Busher here is basically mirror driving, trying to keep the 0-1 at bay, but I don't think there's going to be enough time for Happalainen to catch them. He is improving his distance. He's gaining time on these leaders. And Nick Perez is with him. However, the lap car looks like it's splitting between them and Yves Matthew. Hanley and Smith are still much farther back, but 5 to go next time by at the line. The crowd is going to be ready on their feet. They came out in droves for this event. They love the second race of the year. Even though it's uncompetitive, there's still a lot of strategy that goes into it. Will you be able to make the move? Will you be able to time it right? That's what's going through Patrick Smith's head. He's knowing. He knows. He's got to read Busher's car. He's got to read where he goes in the corners, where he's lifting, where he's not. Actually, basically, he should know that by now. He's been behind him for about half the race. But as they come across the line for 4 to go here at Charlotte, Smith knows he needs to make sure, needs to intimidate Busher to make the mistake. He needs to get around him. He wants this win desperately. Love get the Canadians fans, his supporters, shout outs in victory lane, bring them a trophy back home. He just loved that. But James Busher, the former NASCAR Truck Series champion, has something for that. He is holding off Smith, but Smith is much closer that time by. Smith lifts a little more in the corner though. He had to kill off his run. He had nowhere to go. Busher, the 31 Camaro, is clearly holding off the 0-1, but Happalainen won't have enough to gain. It's 2 to go this time by. Will Busher be able to hold off Smith? They cross the line. The Atrium Health 500 is winding down. The fans on their feet. They want to see a good finish. Smith runs a little low that corner. He's desperate. He wants to do anything he can get around the 31, but he wants to race him clean. Smith has said many times, said it after winning the pole, he doesn't want to wreck someone for the win. But it's too early in the season anyways. If this was a championship battle, I'm sure he would try and move him out of the way. But it's the white flag at Orlando. The Bush's Beans, 1 to go. Here comes James Busher. Final time through turns 1 and 2 onto the back straightaway. Smith is going to have nothing. James Busher working into 3 and 4. One final time, flat out. Smith's diving it in. Will he have anything? No. It's James Busher coming off of corner number 4. And James Busher will win the Atrium Health 500 at Charlotte. Oh, he is screaming on the radio. He is loving it. He is so happy to get Fisher Motorsports a win. And Patrick Smith is heartbreak. He is frustrated. Appolinen really closed in on those final laps, but oh, hit the Windows key there. Appolinen unable to do anything. He was hunted down by the lap car of Cody Savage. I don't know why he was still basically up there in the pack, but James Busher, I gotta give it to him. He put in the effort today. Again, heartbreak for poor Patrick Smith, but that's just the way it is sometimes. It's how it be. Anyways, let's take a look at your finishing results. Busher wins with the average speed of 180 miles an hour. That's probably going to be one of the quickest races we have on the schedule this season, as I'll have that bit of a cold I had from when I recorded Orlando. Sorry about that if things sounds a little bit different, but ways Alainen has the rebound race he needs in the points. So does Eves. Bergwald puts it together for another strong run. He's going to have a good points result after this. And the rest of the field here. Cody Savage was the only car to fall one lap down after this. But we will get you the points from Charlotte. And here are your points standings after Charlotte. James Busher, Patrick Smith, Nick Perez, Eric Darnell, and Austin Terrio, your top 5. The Cody Savage has dropped 15 positions and ends up last in the standings. Heartbreak for him. Anyways, thank you for watching Charlotte. I appreciate you viewing, and we will see you for 2 races at Las Vegas.